Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast on aging and spirituality. Hopefully, we'll be inspiring you with some new insights today. This is Chris Jensen, and
I'm Kathy Taylor.
glad you're joining us. Today, we're going to talk about the meaning and purpose of life. I mean, no matter what age we are, we all want to know what our lives are about, right? Is there meaning? Is there purpose? Is there something we're here to do besides just live daily life? You know, as we get older, this becomes increasingly important because we're asking, are we doing what we need to do? Are we going to be able to do it in the time that we have left? And if these questions have ever troubled you or even crossed your mind, I hope and I believe this podcast will be important to you, because we're going to talk about how you can get intuitive insights into the meaning of your life and what's important for you to do now. You know, I remember when my daughter was in about the 6th grade, and she came home from school one day and she said, so we get born and we go to school and we grow up and work. And she said, so what is it all about?
She really did, just like that. That's so cute.
Just like that. And so I said to her, what do you think it's all about for me? And that was interesting because she said, well, for you, it's about yoga. And I said, and why is that? She said, well, it's about, finding something powerful or more inside. She couldn't quite have the words, but I do want to talk a little bit about my personal story for meaning and purpose, because ever since I was quite young, probably like my daughter, I was always searching for meaning or what I could do, how I wanted to uplift humanity. When I got involved in political stuff when I was younger, it's because I thought I was going to save the world in some way,
Of course.
And and then I wrote poetry, and then I thought that's what I was on the planet to do, inspire people with poetry. And, I went through a lot of things and nothing ever really gelled or manifested. And the reason it didn't is because I was looking at the wrong aspect of it. In yoga, there's a term we use called dharma. And
Say it again.
Dharma.
Dharma. Okay.
Yeah, dharma. And dharma is what, people misinterpret as this is what I should do in life. This is what my job should be. But the real meaning of it is getting in touch with your inner self, with that place within you that's pure consciousness. Yes. The essence, the peace, the joy within, and allowing it to express. And here's what I learned. It doesn't matter what job I did. You could be sweeping the floor. It's about allowing that inner light to express. So, I searched literally all over the world. I did a lot of traveling, and I never came up with anything until I just had that awareness after practicing yoga for some time, that it was about letting the love and the conscious energy of the inner self to come through in anything I did, whether it was talking to someone, whether it was sharing yoga, whether it was my day job marketing, anything like that. I had situations and jobs where I had to stand up for truth and integrity, and that was part of that coming through. A job I had just a few years ago, a marketing job, where the person in charge wanted to blame people who worked for me that something was actually her fault. And she thought I would go along with that because, my peers did go along with it to save their jobs. And I said, no, I'm not going to do this. And what was interesting about that, it was very clear to me that was the consciousness and the integrity coming through. And it was very clear to me that that was what I should do. And she was angry, and some of my peers thought I was crazy, but all the people who worked for me were so touched, and they had never seen that before in the corporate environment.
I remember that. I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, they were so touched and so affected by that. And that was the dharma right there, that light coming through. And those people who were touched, they're going to be more open to standing up and having integrity just because they saw it happen once.
Can I just ask, because what you just said to me made me think of something, and I don't want to take you way off on
No,
the,
no, go ahead.
this is your topic and stuff, but I've been struggling with this.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
what I heard, the distinction from what you just said was, dharma is being. You bring your being into what you're doing. So you could be pounding rocks, digging holes, doing marketing, whatever it is. But the essence of your being that you bring to it is what you're talking about. That is your true dharma. And I recently have been struggling with this because, and don't let me take too long if this takes you off track.
No, this is good because when people need to know, the struggles we've gone through.
Right. Well, in this is recent for me. Like in the last few days, I've been thinking about, okay, Kathy, you've been working since you're 12 years old. And all of the stuff that you've done up until now, the doing that you've done up until now, absolutely does not feel like what you should be doing anymore. It feels like all of this needs to transform. And I need to be coming from a place of just being, where I can stay in being 24/7, and what manifests around me is as a result of that. Does that make it a difference between, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's almost like you're riding a three-wheeler until you can really get on a bike.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now I feel like, okay, I will not leave this perch. I will be who I am in my essence, and everything else is going to have to like step up to the plate and join me, because I'm not going to diverge and stop being who I am. So now I can sit at a desk and I can write marketing copy, or I can, do business in a way that I can make money, or whatever it is. All of those things were important, but they were all kind of survival mechanisms as well.
Right.
And, there would be breakthroughs of my essence coming through, who I am, my ability to love and be non-judgmental and be compassionate, all of that, to be able to give. And I started to think about what you were talking about, dharma, and what I wanted to be as I got older. And I got into this period of just giving too much, and giving and not restoring of myself. And then I got into, okay, now I'm going to take care of myself. This love, yourself, self-care, take care of myself. And that's, again, not enough, so now I'm feeling like this, and I want you to comment on this, if you can, the balancing of being present, bringing my essence and being into that present moment as much as I possibly can. What does that look like? What does that feel like? What would my world look like? How would it be different if I were able to do that?
Right. I mean, that's the whole point. I mean, how does your inner self, how does your soul want to express? Does it want to express love? Does it want to express intuition? Whatever it wants to express.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what else is happening. It's going to express. If you stay centered in that, it's going to express.
Yeah. Okay. But that's good. But your mind is going, yeah, Kathy, but how are you paying the bills?
Yeah. But but that's the thing. It's going to bring about. I mean, the more aligned you are with the inner self, the more seeming coincidences happen where things start coming.
Yeah, the serendipity starts to align.
It starts to align because, pure consciousness doesn't want you to fall apart.
Right.
And we're more powerful. We're absolutely more powerful when we're in touch with that, and when we're allowing that to express. It's the mind and the fears and the angst, which are all real things, but that keep us from centering. And then we make decisions based on what our mind thinks rather than what our inner self, our true self thinks.
So you just gave a really important tip, Chris, in case you didn't recognize it. And listeners, what I heard her say was, you can tell yourself as you're learning about this essence of your being that, the universe is there to back you up. God wants the best for you. When you're putting love out, love is going to come back. You're going to have all these things happen. You know, serendipity will take care of you. Something will come along and take care of you. And a lot of the times it does. But there's sometimes when you get tripped up in your head
Mhm.
and in old belief systems,
Mm.
right? Things that you've lived for multiple years, when you start wondering, oh, I don't know. Fear of the unknown kind of steps in and you're like,
Right.
I'm not so
Well,
sure
it's
that I'm going to have a
actually-
soft landing, you
Yeah,
know, like
yeah.
I've had the shit kicked out of me a few times, so that could happen again. I mean, that's how it feels. So that when those moments happen,
Mhm.
most important to tell yourself, to remind yourself that you are a wave of the ocean. You are a piece of the universal consciousness. If you can get into that flow of, I am a little piece of what the world is, and I am evolving and growing into the expression of that ocean. And it helps to calm that, you know, being afraid of what's to come, or that fear of you don't know how it's going to happen. That's not really comfortable. I'm a planner. I like to know how this stuff is going to happen, you know, and when I don't, I feel like I'm hanging out there, you know, so, and that's uncomfortable. And I'm owning this, get used to that feeling of being uncomfortable sometimes.
Yeah, because we want to be in control, and this is about surrendering. It's about surrendering to the.
There's that word, surrender.
That surrender word, yeah, yeah. And there are a lot of things we can do that help us, because it is challenging, you know, when you're in a difficult situation and you're concerned about, you know, how you're going to pay the bills. And, you know, that's when you want to take the time to step back and do some centering, some exercises. I mean, there's a real simple thing you can do. And, you know, there's a spot, like in the heart area. If someone says, hey, you, and you go, who, me?
For me.
Yeah, it's right, just to the right of the breastbone, you go like
Yeah.
that. You
Yeah.
just put your awareness there, and you can mentally chant I, or om. And it helps you to get emotionally centered.
Mm.
And that emotional centeredness, then you can, you know, go forward from there. You can ask, how do you want to express? You know, you want to split, you don't want to do this for 2 seconds. You know, you've got to do this, sit with it for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, do the I center, and then you know, just try, you know, thoughts and feelings are going to come up, and you just keep trying to shed them like water rolling off a raincoat or something. And just try to, and then just ask, you know, my inner self, how do you want me to express? The third eye is a nice way to develop intuition. And that is, you know, these, you have to experiment with which one is better for you. But you can put your awareness here in the point between the eyebrows, just above the eyes, and do the same thing. Just, you know, I would mentally chant Om, that's a nice way, or you can say 1, 1, 1. And then when you feel a little calmness or centeredness, say, how do you want me to express? What do you want to express? What do you want me to express in this situation? You know, any of those things, and just sit there and be receptive. Just get up. Don't say, what do you want me to express? Boom, I'm gone answering the phone. Just be receptive, you know. That's another thing that's really helpful to do.
Can I just say something about that practice?
Yeah.
Like, because what you said is powerful, and I believe that we forget to ask.
Yeah.
We forget to ask, and it's important to ask. Like, I got into a real habit. Okay, God, what's my next step? And then all of a sudden it just felt really odd. You know, it felt like that's a doing thing, you know?
Yeah.
So I love what you said about what do you want me to express in this situation? Almost always it's some form of divine unconditional love, you know, because that is what opens up the universe, right? So when you're asking on a regular basis, you know, what does divine love look like in this situation? That's a pretty good habit to develop, I would say. You know, ask for that, you'll get an answer.
Yeah, that's the point. Ask, because we don't ask because we think we know. We ask, and then the second part of that is receiving
it.
Just let yourself sit and receive an answer. Go into
How does that feel?
If you call out from here, if you're asking the question from here, go to the heart center, along the spine behind the heart, or this point here, and just just relax and try to receive. Because you can ask, but if you don't listen to the answer, if you don't receive the
Okay, so that was important, but what comes up for me is when you're in a receptive mode, you, first of all, your mind is not racing, you're calm.
Hmm.
Your heart is not in turmoil, you're calm. You have to be that quietness inside, that stillness inside to hear, see,
Yes. Yeah,
connect with
right.
that experience, whether it's an aha, it's
Mhm.
a message that comes in that might be words or thoughts, or it's a picture of all of a sudden you see the answer, it jumps out of you in your third eye. All of those things are open and available to you when you are very calm and receptive.
Yes. Yes. And you want to get to that calm place. I mean, that's why you get into one of those centers and you
Right,
just try to
right,
shed or chant
right.
one or om or whatever, just to try and get there so you can get to a calm enough place to ask and receive. But you know, even if you're not totally calm and centered, you can still ask and receive. You know, I mean, you're going to receive more if you're calm. You're going to hear the response. You're going to sense the response more deeply.
Right.
But even if you're not, just the effort you put in to do that is going to get a response. Something will come up in your life.
Well,
See,
and that's
you'll see
important.
it. An experience will happen, you know?
And that's important too, because the answer doesn't always come on the spot.
Right, right,
You're in a receptive mode, you ask
right.
with gratitude and with sincerity and with
Mm.
honesty and urgency and earnestness
Mm.
and all of those things. And with that receptiveness, you could be walking down the street a day later, 2
Mhm.
days later, and the answer comes.
Right,
Right?
right.
So that's the openness process you want to stay. So I'm saying to the people listening, don't be discouraged if you don't get it on the spot. It will come.
Right,
It will come.
right. And you may look for things in your life, you know,
Look for signs.
yeah, I mean, some people look for signs in ridiculous ways. I had a friend who threw a book in the air and when it landed, she thought that was, you know. But, you know,
Right.
if you're asking a question and some interesting coincidence happens in your life or some event that seems to open a door, you know, explore it because that may be it, you know. So you want to just stay open.
Right.
The more calm you can be, the better. But if you're not, just keep doing it because the answer will come. There's
Okay.
always a response if you sincerely ask. And I think that's the key to that sincerity.
Yes.
You know, that you're not trying to control the situation. You're not saying, okay, I'm going to do this process, but because I want this answer. You know, it's a matter of sincerely letting go and saying, how do you want to express here? And then sincerely being open to what the response is. Because it may be
So,
different than what you had in mind.
okay, so that brings up another question.
Hmm.
If you're sincerely asking for somebody else, say you're praying and you're somebody you know is is unwell and you're praying for them and you're just like at your what would be the description, wit's end, you're just like, God, this has to happen, please
Yeah,
let this child be fine, or whatever it is,
whatever it
you're
is.
praying for something that's very urgent. How is that different than the sense of urgency or earnestness that you would have when you're saying, oh God, I need another job? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think you don't want to go in saying, I need another job. You want to go in saying, what would you have me do? You know?
Mm.
I mean, maybe you need to change something in your job, or maybe you need
Yeah.
to not have a job. I don't know,
Right, right.
But you want to be that specific,
And what about the earnestness of the other situation when somebody's, really in pain and they're praying for them?
Yeah, and the more intensity and
From
earnestness
the
you
heart.
have,
Yeah.
the better it is. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. That's that sincerity thing. I mean, if you are really concerned about something and you sincerely put that energy into asking, there'll be a response.
Yeah.
Be a response. And the key is to stay open to the response.
Yeah.
and not shut off to it. But, if you're really in pain or somebody's really suffering, of course, you're going to pray very earnestly and you're going to ask, you know, what's the situation? How do you want to express here? What can I do in this situation? And just be open to that.
That's important stuff right there.
Yeah,
Really
it
feeling-
is. And it's not always easy when it's a very intense situation because we
Yeah.
want to make it be the way we want it to be. But we have to be open to how infinite consciousness wants to express.
Right,
Maybe different than we thought.
right.
So,
I love that.
so we hope this is helpful to all of you guys out there because I know that we've had a lot of transformations from doing this. And as Kathy said, it's an ongoing process. We
Yeah.
do it in one area and then, we go along and then it comes up again. Comes up again. And when we recall, we have to surrender more. So
Were you going to do the who am I practice?
I thought we've kind of hit enough practices. I think
Okay.
the who am I will do another time.
Okay.
Because
We'll save it for the
giving
future.
people enough to really work with here, and I don't want to
Yeah.
confuse
Well,
it.
because some of these are very intense practices and they're,
Right.
you really have to understand these on an individual level, how it relates to who you are and how you used to express.
Yeah.
You're really talking about the whole process of surrender in a very unique way, for your individual being. And that kind of goes with your nature and, your own practices and your level of understanding of reality and your yogic practices that you have actually done or not done. So all of those things come into play. So there you go. That is something that, finding meaning and purpose is something that comes up a lot, in coaching sessions. People really do have this urgent sense, I think even more now, to really feel like they're following the right path for their selves. And that to me is just a sign that the world is calling them inward, calling them to understand who they are. That's what
who they really are. Yeah.
That's what's going on right now. The times are find out who you are inside and express that. And that's what's going to help heal our planet and bring us together as a world.
Yep.
That's for sure.
Yep.
All right.
So folks, work with this, ask, be open to receiving, and let's see where we go. Send us questions. We'd love to hear from you and see how you're doing with it. And we'll go in more depth on this stuff in another podcast too.
Sure, absolutely. Do send questions. If you have them, you can always go to my website or go to the yoga website for Chris, and we will take those questions and bring them into our next session. At some point we'll probably have like call-in sessions where you can call and have questions. We're going to talk about doing that in the future too, so that you can get your individual questions answered. And that's what if you're interested in that, let us know. We will. We will talk about scheduling that. So that would be really, really cool. So thank you for joining us.
And we'll see you soon.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.